Hello, welcome back to the African Union Profile. My name is Sheikh Moussa Drammeh. I am your host. African Union Profile is a program where we bring to our audience, the African diplomats, African politicians, African experts to discuss about how we can collectively work on self-empowerment and to help the African Union, to help strengthen the African Union. For the past several months, we've talked about a lot of issues concerning, Africa and Africans all over the world. And one of the topics actually happened to be Pan-Africanism, or the new Pan-Africanism, or the resurgence of Pan-Africanism. And I have not brought to this program anybody more Pan-Africanist than my guest today. And today we will be talking about, Africa and the issues concerning African continent and the actions actually that need to be taken by the Africans all over the world for collective self-empowerment. And one organization in particular is CAO Africa organization, which you will learn a lot about in the next hour. The founder of CAO Africa organization actually is our guest. But before we go to CAO Africa organization, I just want to update our viewing audiences about what is happening in Africa lately. And as you know, the African Union will inaugurate its new African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful compound, brand new. I believe it is one of the tallest, if not the tallest building actually in Addis Ababa. It is donated by the Chinese government, and the president of China will be in Addis Ababa on January 28th to inaugurate the building, which costs a little bit over $200 million. Everything was donated by the Chinese government. So some Africans who will say thank you to Chinese government, but other Africans who will say, how much it will cost us at the end, because China now, is part of Africa, and the Chinese citizens are all over Africa, and there are pros and cons to their existence on the continent of Africa. But whatever the case is, we will be celebrating a new headquarters in Addis Ababa. And prior to that, even Gaddafi wanted to move the African Union headquarters to Libya, actually to the town where Gaddafi was born, Sirte. But the African leaders did not trust that, and they didn't allow it. And in the end, the president of Ethiopia, sought help from the outsiders, and the president of China was willing to come and donate the money. So the celebration, we will talk more about the opening, and perhaps maybe we'll bring some pictures to you next time. And then Nigeria, unfortunately, we are now encountering some of the most difficult challenges in the Africa's most populous country, Nigeria, a country with almost 160 million residents, almost 50-50 between Muslims and Christians. And now they are, going through some of the challenges that is nothing new, but we thought that it will never happen again. So a few days ago, about 160 to 250 Nigerians lost their lives through senseless killing. Unfortunately, some call it religious, some political, some, social. But whatever the case is, Africa should be a place where nothing should divide the Africans. No religion, no culture, nothing. Because we are Africans first before anything else. So therefore, regardless of religious backgrounds and orientation, we are Africans first and foremost. And Somalia, nothing new. Unfortunately, one of the tiniest places in Africa, yet one of the most challenging places where life can never be normal for the past almost 20 years, because it is a place without central government. and there are a lot of outside influence, especially with the religious, indoctrination of, death and destruction. So we pray for Somalians and Sudan. Sudan also is a troubled spot, unfortunately. Beautiful country with a lot of attributes that should make a country worthy of living. But, recently between the New Sudan and the old Sudan or the Northern Sudan, there have been some, skirmishes and, people are losing their lives. And I also think the South Sudanese are trying to prevent Northern Sudan to use the oil to continue to oppress them since they have their own independence. And we're going to end with the African soccer now, because right now the African continent is playing its African, soccer tournament. Even though I'm not very well versed, in what is going on, but I know that, the entire continent is now, is jubilant with, their teams and, the fans and, the supporters, because soccer is a very, very followed sport in Africa, as it is followed in Europe and Latin America. So with that, we'll give you more information about the opening of the African Union headquarters when we come back next week. But now, I'm going to turn to our guest, a Pan-Africanist, a true Pan-Africanist, to his core, a guy who wants nothing more than the unification and empowerment and prosperity of Africa and Africans. The guy who live and breathe and actually talk about, being African and being empowered and being proud. And this guest is Akwasi Appiah, the founder and CEO of CAO Africa. Welcome to our show.
Thank you very much, Sheikh. Thank you very much for the honor bestowed upon me.
Okay, great.
I think we all share in this ideology, and it's left for us now to take it to the next step.
Absolutely.
Take action on it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I think you are a good champion for promoting that. But anyway, so today we're here to talk about CAO Africa.
Yes.
You see, there are thousands of organizations
Yes.
that are founded by Africans or non-Africans, but dedicated to the upliftment of the Africans.
Yes.
And some are doing well, while others are not doing well.
Yes.
Some are raising funds to actually do what they said they would do.
Yes.
Others, according to some reports, were founded outside of the continent in the name of the continent and the name of the cause, but sometimes, their headquarters are either in London or in, Paris, yes, Belgium, or in New York.
Yes.
So, what is CAO Africa?
Well, CAO Africa is an NGO, a non-governmental organization, charitable organization, set up for the primary mission, if I may say, for the economic, educational, health development, and empowerment of Africa, particularly Ghana and West Africa. This is a broad topic, as you might notice. However, it could be broken down into simple terms. What do we mean by what we are saying? All we are saying in a nutshell is sustainable development, sustainable growth. As you just mentioned, yes, there are several organizations that are doing well, set up in there are several organizations that aren't doing that well. There are several organizations that were set up in the name of Africa, but probably were not doing the job that they're required to do. And there are others who are actually doing it. But if we take a broad look at, if what I observed is, if we take a broad look at what's going on, most of these organizations, unfortunately, are focusing on the short-term solutions. Feed the person today and then tomorrow they come back and beg for more food, which is not sustainable. How long can you continue to give a handout? And we all know that the Western countries that who usually give these handouts are also in economic turmoil now. So now I want to shift the focus, I want to make the standard as for sustainability. Because if they teach the man how to fish, this is a basic premise which is fundamental in all religions across the world. Teach the man how to fish instead of giving him a fish. If you teach a man how to fish, in a way, you empower him not only to feed himself for today, but to also feed himself for a lifetime. And he could actually transfer this skill to his family, which means you are educating not only a single individual, but an entire community, if you might say. Which should be the new standard that CAO Africa is proposing for all organizations to take up the challenge.
And CAO Africa, is it a non-for-profit organization or is it for-profit organization?
CAO Africa is a non-profit organization.
Okay.
However, taking into consideration the scope of what we are trying to do, and the kind of capital-intensive projects that we're trying to focus on, which will be mainly infrastructural development, we will be seeking a lot of money, and we will be using a lot of money. And whatever gets left behind, I'm sure will be able to go forward, will be utilized, if not presently, but in the near future, for other projects to benefit the African people, we African people.
Since it is a non-for-profit, is it a registered 501c3?
CAO Africa organization is was born in the United States, you know, and it is a 501c organization.
Okay.
It was born in the Bronx of 2008, June 11th, 2008.
Okay.
And we are also registered in Ghana, which is also an African country in West Africa. And we seek to be registered in every single African country in the near future.
Okay. All right. So, as I said earlier, there are thousands of organizations.
Yes.
What promoted you to set, CAO Africa organization?
Well, this stemmed out of a long history of Africa, a long, I'll say, experience, and also my personal involvement as well during my short term in life here that we are blessed by God to be. Africa, if I may say, we have been in a lot of turmoil, most of it caused by not only we Africans ourselves, but also by the Western world. And when all this was said and done, if it actually is, what happened was we Africans were left in a very deplorable state. And as we speak today, we still have, this is 2012, January of 2012. And we still have people walking miles to go fetch dirty water, come prepare the dirty water before they can even use the dirty water. Now, I guess recently found out that the United Nations has been giving a lot of aid to Africa to the tunes of probably now in the hundreds of millions of dollars. And we still have people walking miles to go fetch dirty water, come prepare the dirty water, and before they can use the dirty water. And Africa sits on 43% of the entire world's water resources.
So, who would you blame for the lack of growth and development? Are you blaming the Africans, or would you blame the legacy of colonialism?
I would say I would blame myself.
Okay.
I would blame the legacy of colonialism, and also I would also blame the Africans also.
Okay.
We have to take a position now of being accountable and responsible for our own actions. As we speak right now, I think all African countries are currently called independent states. And so we cannot obviously throw the blame on some other foreign entity for our misfortunes. We have to take the blame for our own misfortunes. On the other hand, you are right. We also have to blame foreign entities also for their part in where we are today. Because obviously, if we look into Africa's history, Africa's past, it is due to all these, we can attribute most of our suffering now to all these experiences that we actually went through. My forefathers, my ancestors went through, and which I am, and we are still going through it today. And so the blame is across the board. However, now we need to focus on moving forward. We need to leave the past behind, or let the past be what it is. We cannot change the past, but what we can do is we can change tomorrow. And what are we doing to change tomorrow? That's why CAO Africa organization was set up, to make the necessary steps, the necessary changes needed to get Africa into where it actually needs to be, which is the top.
For the past 15 years or so, I have been very active in the local elections.
Yes.
Here, I would say in New York City, but particularly in the Bronx.
Yes.
And pretty much almost every candidate running for any elected office would say, when I'm elected, I'll make sure that the jobs in my district will be done by the residents of my district. Almost everybody said the same thing.
Yes.
But then when they get elected, they sometimes realize that the jobs in their district requires qualifications that sometimes need to be found outside of their districts.
Yes.
I mean, time and time again, we see projects in districts that, the elected officials wanted to be done by their, district residents, but unfortunately they have to find an outside contractor. For CAO Africa, for your objectives, or for CAO Africa organization's mission in Ghana, in West Africa, in Africa, you think you have qualified labor force or qualified professionals to do the job, or would you require outside help in terms of human resource?
Without a doubt, with the scope of CAO Africa organization's infrastructural development projects, at the moment I have researched so many companies in Africa. I do not see any African company that is yet ready to take on that challenge.
Okay.
On the other hand, also, we do have foreign entities who are also based in Africa and working in Africa and actually doing these kind of developments. For instance, there's a dam going on in Uganda, which is being built by an Italian consortium currently. I think they stopped working on it. I don't know if they started back again. These are projects that are being undertaken by foreign entities. However, when you come to labor, there's only two forms of labor. There's skilled and there's unskilled labor. In Africa, the benefit is with both skilled and unskilled labor, still the cost is still low at the moment. And we do have unskilled labor, no doubt about it. We also do have a pool of skilled labor which we can pull from to make it happen. But we will definitely need Western help, Western assistance, Western support to undertake these constructions events. CAO Africa organization, all CAO Africa organization is seeking to do is to incorporate Africans, local indigenous Africans, in all levels of construction. Even if they did not have the necessary skills, I think they could learn the skills. And they could learn it by working with those who already know it on the field, or they could learn it in institutions. And so if it comes to a point where we don't have the necessary skilled labor to undertake the job, they could undertake the job in that capacity as an apprentice, learning how to do it. And if we come to unskilled labor, we could also pull from them and see where will work best for each and every one of us. But in the process, what we will be doing is not only creating jobs, but we will also be creating the skill set needed to not only build the thing, but also to maintain it after it has been built. You know.
So, isn't this the responsibility of the local government to oversee the construction of these infrastructures? And what is CARE Africa organization's relationship with the local leaders on the ground in Ghana? Let's say in particular in Ghana.
You are right. This is traditionally, quote unquote, the job of the local governments, the governments of the particular countries, states that you know. It is true. However, having the opportunity to live in the United States for a while, I also had the opportunity to learn from a great person we all know as John F. Kennedy. And he once had a great saying about, ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. In all sense, in all normal sense, yes, it is the job of the government. However, I'll take Ghana for instance. Ghana has been an independent state since 1957. We celebrated our 50-year anniversary in 2007. Okay, we are in 2012 now, and we still have people in Ghana right now walking to go fetch dirty water, come prepared before they can even use it. We still have walls of problem, power fluctuations, you know, lack of skilled labor, low educational levels, low educational skills. We do have all the problems which all African nations or all developing nations still face. So I took it upon myself, if the government is not doing it, I am a citizen. What can I do to help this situation? And that is why we set it up to do that. In terms of what is CARE Africa organization's role going to be, we do have support, we do have the official support of the Ghanaian government with what we are doing, what we seek to do in Ghana and in West Africa. And we will continue to seek local and governmental support from other neighboring states in West Africa and eventually across the board in Africa. We would definitely need, no doubt about it, the governmental support or local authority support, because these are capital-intensive projects that, with all due respect, actually you just said it right, it's the job of the government. So if the government is not going to do it and a private organization wants to do it, are they going to allow us to do it? So we definitely, and we will eventually also need the permits and licenses and authorities to go ahead and do these projects. So we have to work, we will be working with the local authorities and local governments and stuff like that in the event that we do have funding to do these projects. They will be an integral part of it. And we have already secured the support of the Ghanaian government for these projects. In terms of what role will CARE Africa organization be doing is we will simply be a contracting agent. We will simply be playing an ownership and managerial role after all these infrastructure has been put in place. We are not a construction company. We do not know anything about construction. We will not attempt to do that. We will contract the work out to capable, efficient construction companies to undertake the work. However, we will stipulate that they, again, use local labor in all levels of construction to do it. All we seek is an ownership and managerial role. That's all.
And would you be able to do what you set out to do without bribing officials, or be willing to do what other organizations have been known to do in terms of paying bribery?
The issue of bribery is a broad issue.
Okay.
And sometimes it's intermingled with gifts and stuff like this. for instance, in the United States, bribery is completely barred. It's completely illegal. I mean, no doubt about it. However, in my experience of traveling, if you go to other places, it is a sort of a tip. People understand it as a tip. People understand it as a gesture for doing business. People, it's not exact. The confines of bribery are not the same in all corners of the world. However, obviously, without limited resources and without donor money, we cannot go out and say we want to give bribes to do something that will benefit the masses. I don't know how to answer this question in legal terms, but I'm sure the legal team will figure it out. But if we have to give a gift to a local government, obviously we will have to work with the local governments. And the local governments also probably also have other people they are working with. If need be, we will consider gifts.
Yeah. So do you, do you currently have individuals or lawyers or advisors in Ghana now assisting you in facilitating, the scope of work that you are intending to undertake?
At the moment, I have a gentleman by the name of Francis Addo, who is on my board of directors.
Okay.
And who was the Minister of Trade, attaché trade minister in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
He was posted there by the Ghanaian government.
Okay.
I recently also briefly met with the new Minister of Trade at attaché, Mr. Alan Burke, who is also based in Washington now.